Yo, 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 this your boy JB Levi coming at you with another one of these hot topics. And bear with me with any of these beginning, I guess you would say these beginning woes or errors that I'm gonna make as I'm trying to build my brand. This is not like a clothing brand. This is not like a what in the world? My bad. Kind of slipping off my head. I'm probably need to tighten it. But this is not like a clothing brand. This is not something typical for me. I'm trying to brand myself as I guess you could say like it's a reaction channel, but at the same time, I'm trying to brand myself for who I am as a person, as well as trying to give helpful information. It's a lot to go into doing this for me because I have 9 lives, so to speak. I have different things that I'm invested in, and I gotta tread carefully how I speak and the things I say because I don't want to offend people that I care about. And this channel is gonna cover a lot of different topics. And I know we have the freedom of speech, which is the most beautiful thing about America and about life itself, is that we can speak freely as long as we're not um I mean, we can also insult each other, but that's not typically what we use words to do. But as long as we're not lying on people and we making up stuff, we not making up stuff about people, I feel like the freedom of speech should be as freely as it can be. Like if you don't believe in God, so to speak, you got a right to say certain things about your faith and other people's faith and stuff like that. That's the freedom of speech. So, let's allow each other that room because I welcome criticism. I welcome um feedback. I welcome, debate. Like I'm not the type of person where I'm so stuck up and in my ways that we can't come to a common resolution. It's so we're supposed to have differences. We're human. That's what makes us human is the fact that we have differences and that we see things in a different manner at times. So nobody is always right. And we all have to answer to what's right at the end of the day. I mean, ultimately God, but even in our time of living, we're gonna answer for certain things that we commit to or we believe in. And sometimes that answer is a good answer, a good knock at the door, telling you, hey, you were right and you were doing the right thing, you were saying the right thing. And sometimes it's the opposite, where you're being condemned and put on a ridicule. So I said all that just to clear the air as I continue to do this. I probably won't keep repeating that because that's a lot to really express, but I want people to understand the freedoms that they have to express themselves, even on my channel. Like, long as you ain't being divisive and creating hatred amongst, and I can't really even say that because freedom of speech is freedom of speech. You can create hatred with your freedom of speech. You can pronounce somebody as being a hater with your freedom of speech. So I'm not in trying to control people's freedom of speech. People got to protect their own mind just as much as people gonna have to answer for what they say. We gonna have to protect our mind from what people say. We're gonna have sometimes it's even a child. You can teach a child something that, presumably leaves them to seem as if they are racist, or I mean, make them have thoughts of racism or inequality. So I think that's up to us and what we know to be better to do better. You know better, do better. All right. So now that I got that out the way, um, we're gonna hop into this video. I'm about to expose some things that's like going on in the political realm or the political arena, and we're gonna dissect some stuff. This gonna be heavy news. I ain't gonna lie to you, cause I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but I'm one of those people that I don't fall for the ookie doke, the okey doke. You're not gonna make me see things blandly. I'm gonna look broad and I'm gonna look deep and or I'm gonna look with depth and I'm gonna analyze as I'm watching. And some of the takes that I say may just be over the top, but I'm still gonna make them based on what I have seen, what I know, and what could possibly happen. So with that being said, I'm gonna hop into this reaction video because this is my guy, man. I love his stuff, man. He make pretty much make videos about political stuff pretty much, but he covered the news. He covered the good, the bad, the ugly, and he kind of put his spin on it. I'm just going to take a piece of what he do and put my spin on it. So I may pause it and speak my mind a little bit and show how some things are differently viewed in my opinion, or even elaborate on some of the things that may have been said in the situation or in the video. And there's also some other people that I watch who drop political videos. They're just basically giving you news that you won't always see on mainstream media or on Facebook or wherever you get your news from. You won't always see these things because a lot of it gets buried or misconstrued and we don't get all the information. So here goes nothing.
See the mainstream media continuing to make the same mistake over and over and over again, look no further. Their coverage of the Boulder terror attack will leave you feeling disgusted. They not only attempt to skew the narrative, but they attack the FBI in the same sentence. It's ludicrous.
Well, I mean, this is horrific. And what more do we need to see, Jake, before we realize this Free Palestine movement is nothing more than a domestic terror organization right now? I mean, we had the killings in Washington a couple of weeks ago. We have this issue in Colorado. We've seen, the activities on college campuses now for months and months and months and months. The rise of anti Semitism in America, the rise in the number of people who have come to America who hold anti American views, anti Western views, and anti Semitic views and are now willing to act on it. It is absolutely outrageous. And I think as a society, we need to understand we are dealing with domestic terrorism. It's growing more violent by the day. And if we don't deal with it, these kinds of things are going to keep happening in cities all over the place. It's awful. And we need to come to grips with the fight that we're in right now in America, a fight for the future of our country and the future of Western civilization, in my opinion.
Yeah, so that was
Okay, he about to talk about some things, but some things I want to respond to that as well. First of all, the anti-Semitism thing. I remember when they would they wouldn't tolerate that from NBA players. Nobody would get away with anti-Semitism. In the media, they would punish you for that. Now you see people get to rage out with anti-Semitism and not be ostracized by the media or ridiculed by the media for having anti-Semitic acts or even words. I remember somebody they got a fine for some anti-Semitic things, and then they had Jew people in the stands at the NBA. And I'm like, dang, they went that far with anti-Semitism, which I know anti-Semitism go way deeper than what the surface of it is. That's why they can spit on it at the same time, like how they doing with this situation where they don't even call it and condemn it as what it is. But I'm gonna keep going, because I'm gonna let this thing cook up a little
Scott
bit more.
Jennings. We are 24 hours removed from that terror attack that took place in Boulder, Colorado. And all the reactions have been rolling in, of course. And so there's a couple of them that I want to highlight that continues to show what the problem is behind an attack like this. Number one, there is a huge disconnect between federal authorities and local law enforcement, especially in blue states.
I want to give Spartan a try, but I feel it's too expensive.
We hear you. And this holiday, we decided to drop the price.
And an example of that we saw yesterday when the police chief of Boulder refused to call this a terror attack, and the FBI did. There's a disconnect there. And secondly, Democrats continue to allow this whole Free Palestine movement to turn violent, just like they allowed violence to occur against Elon Musk and Tesla. Now, let me just show you an example of how delusional Democrats can be. Here's Jamie Raskin, congressman, saying this.
We've got to take whatever precautions and security measures we need to make sure that people can do that. That's essential. But there's been a lot of violence in our society recently, as we saw in Washington. Now we're seeing in Colorado, but we've seen it across the country. We are still in the midst of a gun violence epidemic. So we need to be acting.
Pause. Pause. This man just said something about a gun violence epidemic. We're in the middle of a gun violence epidemic. First of all, this man did not shoot a single bullet in this situation. So, in the middle of a gun violence epidemic, I mean, I guess you could say that over a span of the last 5 to 10 years, mass shootings. If that's what he's referring to, I guess you can say that. But we're not, a lot of those people that are doing these things aren't like hardworking American citizens. These people are people who've been radicalized and whatever else, or got some agenda beyond normalcy. So the people who are doing mass shootings aren't normal citizens that go to work and work a 9 to 5 and come home and got a house and got a family and got a kids, got a job, and got things they're trying to do, going on vacations, planning their next trip and all of this stuff. That's not the people who doing mass shootings. It's people who are deranged and psychologically uh uh you know confused about life itself. So these people are not normal people. They are crazy, insane cycles. Now that I got that out the way, why is we talking about guns in this situation? Like what validation you trying to bring up that we need to take guns away? Like when at the same time people need guns to protect themselves? I would never, and I'm gonna go out on a limb with this one. I would never, ever, ever agree that we should confiscate all the guns. I don't care if they're automatic weapons or not, all that, because I believe a dude should take some certain training. Like you should have to get a licensing to get a certain type of firearm, but I don't agree that you should take it all away from the people and they shouldn't have no access to it. Because first of all, like I said, the mass shootings aren't happening by common citizens. And that's the main problem they really seem to be concerned about. That's the only problem that leads to them saying we need to confiscate the guns. And secondly, what if something does happen? What if we do have a situation where some sense of a 9/11 happened on a large scale? Like, then people need to be able to protect themselves. And I don't believe that people shouldn't. If they believe that firearms is their protection, then it ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't agree that they should have an army of guns, like over 100 and something guns. I mean, that's somebody looking like they're going to war. Come on, let's be smart about all of this stuff. It's not that complicated. Stop making it more complicated than what it is, and do the simple job that it takes to be in y'all position as leaders, as officials, as people who are in government seats, trying to delegate a sense of peace and security throughout the nation. Please.
With due concern for human life. I mean, this is why, of course, we have been fighting for a universal violent criminal background check. We are for a ban on military-style assault weapons in the country. You know, our lax gun laws are a danger to everybody. in America, and that's something that we can act with some legislative determination to turn around.
All right, so before we even respond to that nonsense, please, if you guys have been getting value from our channel, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support us further, you can go to the link in the description below, buy us a cup of coffee, shop our merch store, or follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Okay, so maybe I missed it, but I don't see how gun legislation has anything to do with this terror attack, okay? I guess it's a great example of how the congressman has no idea what he's talking about. And again, trying to score political points here. Let me just show you a clip here from the officials on the ground there. They held a press conference earlier today, releasing additional details about this criminal. Just listen to this, and then we'll come back and react to Mr. Jamie Raskin there.
Mr. Solomon stated that he had been planning this attack for a year. And he acted because he hated what he called the Zionist group.
Thought came to my head. Pause. He been plotting this for over a year. Now think about it. You got a psycho person in the country plotting an attack. I think it's really just a sign of the times we're living in. It's like this is the world we're living in. And I don't want to say this the country we're living in, because we got ways to mitigate all this stuff. Like, that's why you got an FBI. That's why you got a police department. That's why you got the feds. That's why you got all these organizations to make sure stuff like these things don't just happen on a regular basis. So, if it is happening at a larger scale, it's because these people that are elected officials aren't doing their jobs to the level in which you can mitigate this stuff. That's a part of having a prosperous country, man. I'm gonna just let them cook.
But what the charges allege that he did was to throw Molotov cocktails at a group of men and women, some of them in their late 80s, burning them as they peacefully walked on a Sunday to draw attention to Israeli hostages held in Gaza. And when he was interviewed about the attack, he said he wanted them all to die. He had no regrets, and he would go back and do it again. He said that he had previously tried to purchase a firearm, but resorted to the Molotov cocktails when he could not purchase a gun because he was not a legal citizen.
All right, so here's what you guys need to know. The left clearly is trying to minimize this because they know this is another example of violence coming from their party, the way that they talk, these movements that they have within the party, like Free Palestine. And what they're doing is they're minimizing it by trying to bring up January 6th. I'm going to show you another example of that here shortly. Number two, this highlights the weakness of the party as well when it comes to policy, immigration. This guy's a foreign national, overstayed his visa, and is looking to destroy the United States of America and plan this for a year. And number three, even though Jamie Raskin wants to bring up gun control, you heard what the official said. The guy attempted to get a gun, wasn't allowed to because he was not an American citizen. So again, what does gun legislation have to do with this? I have no idea. All right, now let me show you this next clip from book salesman Jake Tapper when he starts rambling about violent right-wing anti-Semitism in response to this terror attack. Take a look.
Anti-Semitism obviously is a big problem on the left, and we've seen that in these violent attacks in recent months. Governor Shapiro's house, the attack and murders outside the Jewish Museum. It is also a problem on the right. I mean, in addition to the Tree of Life synagogue killing in Pittsburgh, which is obviously homicidal, there's been reporting recently that the Pentagon press secretary, Kingsley Wilson, has a history of social media posts pushing anti-Semitic tropes, extremist theories. NPR reports it has identified 3 Trump officials with close ties to anti-Semitic extremists like Nick Fuentes.
Did he say Trump
ties to
supporters?
extremist theories. NPR reports it has identified 3 Trump officials with close ties to anti-Semitic extremists like Nick Fuentes.
Okay, I just have...
How in the world do you put Trump with that? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I bet money that's what he about to get on. Cause how you tying Trump delegates to ties with anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic people? Like, I don't get it when he's the one standing up for Israel, helping Israel and all
To
this stuff.
stop it because you have to pay attention to the way that they speak. They have ties to Nick Fuentes. So does that definitively mean they're anti-Semitic? That's number one. Secondly, let's say whoever it was at the Pentagon who's uploading these crazy posts and these tropes or whatever they want to frame it as, let's say that's all true. Is that the same as somebody throwing Molotov cocktails at actual people who are pro-Israel while they're doing a peaceful protest? No. Is that the same thing as someone who was trying to blow up the governor of Pennsylvania? No. So I don't know why he tried to set up the question by equating those two. And then he makes himself look even stupid when he says, well, I'm not trying to, do this whole thing called whataboutism, but you are doing it, Jake.
I think, and again, the problem right now that we're seeing in terms of violence is on the left. And I want to make it clear, I'm not whataboutism. I'm not doing whataboutism. But it is really difficult to be a Jew in America and not see this as a bipartisan affliction.
Well, to your point right there, again, the violence right now is coming from the left, which is why we do two things. We empower our state and local law enforcement to work with their federal counterparts to absolutely hold accountable these violent attacks when they slip through the cracks. But more than that, we support our state and local law enforcement being able to work with the feds to prevent these things from happening in the first place. And that is very, very difficult in sanctuary states like Colorado, like California, like many other blue states around the country, where state and local law enforcement is not allowed to work with their federal counterparts to be able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to prevent things like this happening. So, to your point about the violence, we have to be able to work federal, state, and local together to stop this from happening. And then we always condemn anti-Semitic actions, words, deeds, wherever they're found, to make sure that everyone in our community knows this is not appropriate, this is not okay, and you will be called out for it. And if you ever commit a bias-motivated crime against the Jewish community, you will be held to account to the fullest extent of the law.
All right, guys, I just
Feel like that's a whole mouthful in itself because it's almost like you put in a certain group or a group of individuals on a pedestal. And I just don't agree with that whole idea. Like, yeah, I understand. That's just like saying Christians. I mean, I would rather them say Christians than say Jews. I really would rather them say that word because Jews disguises who like it's just like, oh, there's certain group here. When Christian is an open faith, it's an open base of people. It's not somebody who's white, black, this, that, and the third. It's somebody who believe in Christ and people who stand for their faith. And I wish they made this about that being what this issue is. It's like people want to persecute people for being a believer in God and Christ. That's really what this is. And they don't put it as plain as that. They hide behind these terminologies and it really just make it difficult to really follow along with what's really going on. And I think what it also does is disguise the enemy, disguise the real enemy, the 666 enemy. Not no, not no person who's from Palestine. That's not really that's just a that's just a demographic and that's a person that was born in some area. That is not the real enemy. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, rulers of darkness, and wickedness in high places. That's the fight. It's not this person from Palestine or this person from Iran. It's not really that, but we make it that. But that's just it playing out in the natural world. But it is far higher principles that are at work here. And I just wanted to make that point.
have to say it. Jake Tapper, he has to be morally conflicted. I mean, I would literally ask him if I ever met him, like, how do you do it? I mean, you have to have a conscience. I know you have an intuition, and it's telling you what you're saying is wrong. But I think through years of that programming and the habit of
Indoctrination.
framing things a certain way, it's easy for him to do it. Now, if you have a brain, you could see right through what he's saying. He's trying to equate the two so he can minimize the rhetoric that the violence is coming from the left. If he wasn't trying to minimize it, he wouldn't set up everything by saying all this right-wing stuff and all these suggestions that people who are currently a part of the administration are anti-Semitic. He wouldn't do that. All right, and now I'm going
And you know what's crazy? They even go like that's so diabolical. Like, you know how much training you have to be able to frame a lie to be able to make it look like what it's not, like, and as clear as what it is. You want to make it look like what it's not. It's so beyond human comprehension. You have to have been indoctrinated, bro. You have to have said, I'm going to give my soul to this because your consciousness will disrupt that. I know you can lie, and I ain't saying you can't lie without remorse. Some people who are just regular human can lie without remorse, do evil without remorse, kill without remorse. But it's way more crafty to make a story out of it. It's like to be a pathological liar. It's like you're gifted at being a pathological liar. It's like I know how to get this story and make it look like this, and I'm gonna try to make it look like what I want to make it. It's almost witchcraft to be honest, because how can you even frame your stories like that? Like that's just crazy. It's just
to show you
you
this
gotta
clip
be
from Ted
so
Cruz. He's
far gone
reacting to
mentally.
CNN's disgusting coverage of this terror attack, where they brought on people to criticize the FBI and the way that they handled it. And here you go.
It's hard to imagine that the FBI has more or better information at this point to kind of rush out with the conclusion within like 10 minutes after we all started hearing about this, that it's a targeted act of terror. It may very well be, but most of the time you try to be very careful about attaching that label to an attack until you have solid evidence that indicates a motive that would qualify as terrorism. Like,
now, Senator, the fact that this guy was at such a high level at the FBI and helped lead the efforts against Donald Trump with the scam Russia investigation, and this is what he offers now?
Look, he's a left-wing radical, and he's committed to lying. We also saw the Boulder Police Department say,
Wow. It's amazing. The guy who made this video is covering it saying these are liars. I'm saying it before they even get on the chance to say it. And they come out and say it like clear. Just it's gotten to the point where they lie so much and they are not as good as it to get people not to see the truth that everybody can see that they are liars. I mean, it's in plain sight at this point. Only people who don't know that they're lies are people who don't know enough truth, or people who are easily deceived, and people who are easily manipulated. If you know enough truth, you can't just be easily manipulated, and it's just crazy.
well, we don't know that it's terrorism. This guy was a lunatic who was at a pro-Israel protest, elderly Jewish people, including a Holocaust survivor there, calling for the release of hostages taken on October 7th. And this guy screams "Free Palestine" and lights them on fire.
And that's why Dan Bongino put this up.
And another quick note that I want to bring up about certain things, because they say he's a white man, blah blah blah. That get back to my point where I say people can be born in wherever. The fight is not about color and what's the word I want to say? Geology or I can't remember the word I want to say, but your background about where you were born at. That's geographical background. That's what I wanted to say. It's not about that. That's because you got white Africans I mean, they speak just as African as black people will ever speak that's from America. So has nothing to do with skin color. Because we've migrated and shifted around. You got Latinos who don't speak Spanish. You got all kind of stuff going on. Asians who don't speak Asian because they grew up in America. They ain't been around Asia. They don't read Asian thing. They don't understand it. So my point to saying that is all of the white, black, this, that, all that stuff is secondhand information based to secondhand information to what actually they are saying and doing, whether on social media, in public, on video, whatever the case may be. That skin and race thing, and even sometimes your associated religion, it comes second to what you're saying. So stop validating something or dismissing something based on skin color or background or this or that. Base it on what they're showing you and what they're telling you. That's how you're going to get a real example or get a real take on who is what, not by skin color and all this race stuff. I hate when people do that.
Up today. To be clear, moving forward, when the evidence passed to our FBI leadership team from an active crime scene includes clear, ideologically motivated statements, video, multiple witness accounts, Molotov cocktails, and a large gatherings of like-minded people, we will investigate those incidents as targeted acts of terror. If the investigation turns in a different direction, despite the evidence, we can make adjustments. And everyone is innocent until proven guilty in our justice system. But we are the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We are not the Federal Bureau of Word Games. And that's true, because that's exactly what mainstream media and Democrats are doing.
And you look at CNN, by the way, the New York Times didn't mention in their coverage this guy was an illegal immigrant. It's reminiscent. You remember the earlier terror attack in New Orleans where
crazy.
This lunatic drove a truck into a crowd with an ISIS flag behind it. And what did the career FBI person there say? Well, we don't know that this is terrorism. You know what? When you fly an ISIS flag and murder people, we do know it's terrorism. It is obvious, and it's a political agenda.
Why was that pride flag in the back, though? I just noticed
Drove a
that.
truck into a crowd with an ISIS flag behind it. And what did the career FBI
I
person
even
there say? Well, we
noticed
don't
that.
know that
Like,
this is
why
terrorism.
is
You
there
know
a
what?
pride
When you
flag in the
fly
back?
an ISIS flag and murder people, we do know it's terrorism. It is
And look like
obvious, and it's a political agenda that people. We don't know that this is terrorism.
Like, I think the top part is like the transgender colors and uh the rainbow pride flag. I hate even calling that a pride flag because the rainbow is the rainbow. It has I hate the fact that they use that as a freaking
Terrorism. You know what? When you
symbol for
fly
pride.
an ISIS flag and murder
Pride
people,
month. I
we
don't
do
even
know
get
it's
all that.
terrorism.
That
It
don't
is
even make sense.
obvious, and it's a political agenda that they don't want to acknowledge. These are radical Islamic terrorists. By the way, we've seen in the last 2 months, we've seen elderly Jewish people lit on fire by radical leftist Islamists. We've seen a beautiful young Jewish couple murdered here in Washington, D.C. simply because they're Jews. And the guy was a leftist from Chicago. He wasn't Palestinian. He was just a leftist ideologue who screamed free Palestine. And then we also saw the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, the governor's mansion firebombed with a radical that wanted to murder him and his entire family. This is a poisonous ideology, and it's one that flourished under Joe Biden and the Democrats.
A Swiss engineer might have just solved one of the biggest
You
problems.
know what's crazy about all this?
Big AC companies are not.
Yeah, it just blows.
It ain't so much just the situations. It is kind of the fact that people so numb and dead to what's going on. But like, I wish it was more transparent than what it is. It's like you don't even know how to articulate this stuff. I know if anybody is tuning in and watching this, y'all don't know the significance of Jews and Palestine, and I really barely know. I don't really truly know what all of the Palestine stuff is, and and Gaza and all that. I don't really know. All I know is what I know. And when I see videos and I see implications and I hear people talk, like I said, I go right back to the basics. I don't go by skin color. I don't go by ethnicity. I go or where they at. I go by what they say and what they do. I do listen to what they say enough to hear what their grievances is because a lot of the stuff seems motivated off of some sense of liberation or righteousness. But all of it ain't that because unless both people are wrong, all of it ain't that. So I listen for the truth. And I listen to one and I listen to the other. You cannot get a fair assessment if you only hear one side of the story. So I listening to the thing from Gaza, which I'll show that clip in a little bit. But the people are thanking Trump for the aid, just for letting the food get to them. Now, I know what I know about Trump, and I hear somebody say something like that so from Gaza who going through these persecutions, then I feel like their persecution is not warranted upon them. They didn't make themselves put themselves in position to be persecuted. Somebody saw them as a target and decided they were going to target them. That's how I see it. That's based on what I have know, what I've assessed, and what I heard and saw. I'm not basing it off of Gaza and what region they in. Not based on Palestine. I'm not basing it off Israel's history, because all that stuff is subject to change. That's why I don't get too caught up in that stuff. I do know enough about it uh to give fair reasonings for certain things happening, but I don't put all my eggs in one basket. First of all, I couldn't know everything, but I know enough to know what I need to know. And so when I hear them stuff and I see this stuff and like you hear the colleges, students being radicalized and all of this stuff, you know we got a problem within our country, bro. And I wish it wasn't like how it is, but this didn't just happen yesterday. This didn't just happen over the last 4 years of Biden's term. This has been happening decades over decades, which is why they trying to push our politicians into fear of acting upon the right thing to do out of fear of them being persecuted by these unknown sources that have leaked into the country and made a struggle of our country. But nevertheless, God is still God. And when I say that, we all can go back to Trump. We all can look at Trump's situation. They tried to murder him in cold blood twice, and his life was preserved. Whether you want to say spared, whether you want to say graced by God, whatever you implication you want to come up with, they obviously can't just put their hands on him like that. So all you elected officials, all you politicians, realize that the enemy just can't put his hands on you. I didn't say he can't kill certain people, he can't touch certain people, he can't afflict certain people. I just know he just can't run up and put his hands on you if you stand on the right side of things. If you have integrity, in which is God given. You don't think they don't like this dude we watching? They probably hate his guts for exposing the truth. But you think they just can run up and touch him? No, he's protected divinely. So I would like for the people who are truly in positions of power to represent the position they're in for the people through life or death. I wish they took the oath in the same manner as which people take marital oaths into life or death, whether healthy or sick, through rich or poor. I will vow to take this situation and this thing to the utmost, stand to the utmost standard and do the right thing. I wish they would be held to that prism or that pre- pre- precipice. That's the word I think I'm looking for. Of conducting themselves, so that we as people who vote for them and rally for them can feel at least like they have a spiritual and moral obligation to do their job. If they want to go against that, fine. But they going against an oath they committed against their own body, own mind, own soul. So when things happen to them and corruption overtakes them, or when they end up hellbound because they did not uphold integrity in which the rules they promised to keep, that it would it would serve its purpose, and that person, even if they wanted to be corrupt, would suffer the wrong of their corruption, and that way they get dealt with either way. They don't it don't You don't have to fire them so much. They're gonna get the ultimate price to pay by doing some evil that they doing that they know goes against their moral constitutional right, or constitution in the pledge that they made towards the American people or towards the people that they govern over. So I wish it was like that.
My mind why it's so hard for people to just agree on certain things. When someone is murdering American citizens, especially when they were peacefully protesting in solidarity for pro Israeli hostages that are still stuck in Gaza, I don't think it's too much to ask to be on the same page here. It is a domestic terror attack. That's number one. Number two, this guy is a foreign national, a legal migrant, allegedly, because he overstayed his visa. And he's screaming free Palestine. What more do you need to know? It's just fascinating. And then even the following day, I showed you clips of what people are still saying. They're totally disconnected here. Okay, so in other news, Pride Month is here, and mainstream media is basically running stories that things have changed. That the industry, although it made a lot of money, we're talking billions of dollars, it's now losing money because nobody is really pushing it anymore. And I think for good reason. Take a look.
The multi-billion-dollar business that has become Pride morphed into Pride. Pride is now big business. Think about big pharma, big tech, big tobacco. And now you know what we've got? Big Pride. Big Pride is a billion-dollar business. Pride events, though, have seen a mass exodus of sponsors since Donald Trump was elected. San Francisco Pride, New York City Pride, Utah
What
Pride
happened?
was elected. San Francisco.
Sacred advertisers flag ban and Trump. The U.S. is for a trouble project.
Cisco Pride,
I don't even know
New
what's
York
going
City
on.
Pride, Utah Pride, Virginia Pride, Columbus Pride. All the events, all the parades are all now losing money. In Montana, the governor just signed a law banning Pride flags from all public school classrooms. Tim Walz put tampons in the men's room. So we've gone from insanity back to common sense. Donald Trump officially banned Pride flags from all federal buildings and all U.S. embassies. That's a good thing. That's common sense. You can do it at your house. Do whatever you want.
Now, generally speaking, that is the conservative point of view on this, is that we don't need any additional flags. There's really three flags that should be authorized, especially at the state level: the state flag, the
Canada.
American flag, and the POW flag. That's
Oh,
it, nothing more. But when you start adding 1,000 different flags because you're trying to tailor to 1,000 different small groups, now you're starting to conflate the value of things. And now it's to a point where the fact that President Trump signed that executive order, you still have parts of this country who looks at the American flag in disgust. Let me show you an example of that. Take a look at this.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay. It's an American summer. Except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here. USA, woo! And honestly, my dad serves in the military, and I'd love to be really proud of this nation, but it's hard to be proud of it under Donald Trump. But hey, you know, while you're here, pick up a USA bikini. You know, why not?
or we could
Yeah,
pick up
Target's
a
really
pride
taken this
bikini.
anti-DEI thing to another level.
Now, obviously, we
Hell,
don't know who she is, and I'm not too sure if she was trolling or not. I'm sure you guys will be able to verify that. But let's just keep it straight. Even if we go back 3 years ago, 2 years ago, under Joe Biden, I was still proud of this country. It's still the greatest country in the world, even when Democrats are in control. Now, their policies will destroy this country as we know it. I think that is true. And I think Republicans enable these policies because they don't do anything either to make their case. But the fact of the matter is, hating the American flag is as delusional as you can get. In fact, I believe it's the devil at work. How grateful is it to be in a country like this? You could have been born in North Korea. You could have been born somewhere in the Congo, but you're born in the United States of America. It doesn't get any better than that. Now, here's Mark Meadows and his take on this entire issue. Take a look.
When we look at embracing a flag, it's all about embracing the
What
American
in the
flag.
world?
We can embrace a number of different lifestyles without
Like, why would you need to embrace the pride flag at the what? Like,
actually having to
that don't
celebrate
make
it for
absolutely no
an entire
sense.
month, as you pointed out. And I'm all about lighting up the colors on the White House, but those should be red, white, and blue as we start to look at it. And so this president has really embraced Main Street and has come along and said, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to let biological men compete in women's sports anymore. We're not going to continue to espouse those values that honestly are against the traditional American values of family, faith, and freedom.
Yep, he's spot on about that. But the real story isn't necessarily about the flags, because we know people have been losing their mind over that. It's the money, ladies and gentlemen. How many people have made money because of DEI and Pride Month and BLM, but never actually delivered results for those same groups?
The instant relief for snorers in 2025. Hey, stop using stupid nose things for snoring.
Even MSDNC is admitting this fact. Take a look.
I'm assuming that these companies aren't saying, well, we're not giving you the $100,000 we've given you in years past because we're afraid of the Trump administration. What are they saying?
I mean, what they're saying is that they're going to let their brands individually speak for itself. So take Diageo, for example, right? They're saying Smirnoff Vodka will still be a corporate sponsor at different individual events, but we're not going to cut that big check that we would normally cut for the San Francisco Pride event or for the New York City Pride event. Now, what those organizers are having to do, though, that's interesting, is actually turn to grassroots funding. They're having to actually go back to maybe what they were doing, say, a decade ago, right? You sort of saw this corporate rainbow washing, corporate commitment after 2015 with the defense of marriage, right, and in support of same-sex couples. The corporations jumped at the opportunity to get more involved. Now they're sort of having to go back to the communities and say, look, we need you to show up again for us because we're losing these corporate sponsors.
But see, that's the problem with corporate America, and why any American with a brain should discourage any time these corporations start peddling, social justice issues. They should just stay out of it. Okay. I don't go to Target or Walmart because of their political views. That's not why the company was started. It's just like I don't watch sports games to hear what your political take is on what's happening in Gaza. Like, that is the problem with our country. Politics has infected almost every single industry. You can't go anywhere without, I guess, getting hit with some political statement. We need to go back to a time where politics has its own area, sports has its own area, and when you go to the grocery store or you're going out shopping, you're not bombarded by all these woke messages. And let's not forget, again, it comes down to money, ladies and gentlemen. How much money did the Biden administration throw at corporations to push this stuff? I'm sure you could do the math on that. But first, I want to get your reaction.
Nah, what he said is so 100. So 100, bro. That's why I don't have a channel where I talk about basketball and thing on the same, and I think that's a problem with this channel. And I'm glad that he brought that up because, you can't, everybody don't come, they come here for one thing. They don't want to get bombarded with other stuff. Unless that's who you make yourself out to be, man. But, nevertheless, it's another video that I wanted to tune into, but I don't know how people do this. I can't sit in front of a computer and talk to somebody all day. I cannot do it, bro. I mean, unless the people really rock with me and, they let me know they enjoy the video, I can't keep doing this. Like, they shadow ban me too much for me to keep doing this. And I don't got time for that. Like people need to hear what I got to say. Why am I being shadow banned? But hey, I have no control over that. It's the way of the world. It's the way of the systems. It's the way of the algorithm. And I'm just trying to do what I feel like I can do in the time that I have to do it. And right now, my time is expiring. I could cover this other video where she talk about some of the stuff in Gaza and stuff, but like I'll watch that on my own time. And if I feel need to like start doing snippets and cut out videos and kind of make this a little more streamlined where I can just kind of cover the important stuff instead of walking through all of the little baby stories and baby steps, because these videos be 20 and 30 minutes long. I don't got time. And then when I pause it, I'm talking for 2, 3 minutes. So 20 and 30 minutes can turn into 40, 50 minutes and an hour kind of fast. And when you got something that ain't getting out to the masses because they want to shadow ban you, it's really kind of hard to sit here and continue to be motivated. So I do things that I love to do. I do love to like share information and kind of give my 2 cents, but like I can do it a lot faster on Facebook. I can do it a lot easier for people who already know this stuff, but trying to give people, gear people and steer them. And it's important. Don't get it twisted. This stuff is very important because you want to save your community and your society. But it's more than one ways to do that. And you need money to do that to a certain extent. And I'm sitting up here trying to do this not for money, really for the sake of life itself and the state of being, the state of happiness or liberty. I doing this for my freedoms. I know people need to know this stuff so that they can experience or position themselves so that they may be able to experience liberty and freedom. I don't feel like an activist, but this is activist work, and I that's a lot of people doing it, which is why I really watch dude. He's doing what I wish I could do in a sense, but I know that's not what I'm passionate about, and that's another topic for another day. Because really, I'm a life coach at the end of the day. I'm trying to help people live out their dreams. So that's this helped me embrace a portion, a perspective of that, but it's not the totality of that. So when I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to y'all almost as a life coach, as somebody who's got the mental capacity and the depth of relations and knowing certain stuff to get you to march to the right direction. I'm not a politician. I'm not in for making you a Democrat or a Republican or see all of these political things for what they are. Like it's too much for me. Honestly. Like I just said it. Like I don't pay attention to all of the Gaza and Palestine. Like I pay attention to it, but enough to know enough. I'm not doing it enough to know, oh, Palestine did this. They did this in 1987. Like that's not me. I would be straight up with you. That's not me. That's the most history you gonna find me understanding and knowing like that is that Bible. Because that Bible got the best history you gonna ever need to know because it tells you history based on the repetition of things. It's like how things happen. And it's not more so what happened, it's how they happen, which is just as important as what happened. So yeah, that's it. I hope y'all enjoy this, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Those of you who did. If I get shadow banned, if I don't, if this message get out to people, I appreciate you. If it don't, whatever. I don't. This is not the end of the world for me. I actually only doing this for like a grace to be able to like open the door for other people to really know information, more information, and like analyze the world we live in because it do get treacherous out here. But yeah, just let me know. Just let me know. Keep me posted. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Peace.